Hello and welcome to Joyride with your hosts, the Metaphysical Moms, Tiffany and Carrie. Joyride takes you on a spin through the Metaphysical Moms, Tiffany and Carrie. Joyride takes you on a spin through the Metaphysical Moms, Tiffany and Carrie. Joyride takes you on a spin through all things spiritual and soulful, including holistic healing, energy work, and personal development. Now, here are your hosts, Tiffany and Carrie.
Good morning.
Every week, there is a little gremlin running around in our studio.
Our show song had a stutter this morning. We wanted to repeat, and here we are. No, it's good. It's good, just to make sure.
It is all good.
Make sure you're in the right place. Welcome, everybody, to Joyride. I am Tiffany Williams.
And I'm Carrie Walker.
This is Carrie Walker. And thank you so much for hopping on to join us here on Tuesday morning. It is March 20th.
Wow, already.
And it's a beautiful day here in Houston.
It's gorgeous.
It's like a nice, cool 50 degrees. Sun is shining. It's beautiful, crystal clear.
Except everything is coated in yellow.
It's all yellow.
But our flowers are amazing.
We are pollinating here in Houston. The bees are awesome, and they're loving it.
They really, really are. So I brought a little bit of spring break back with us. We just finished our spring break, and I am ready to get back to life.
There's nothing like dropping off your kids at school after a long, busy week of having them in your hair, in your stuff. I love my kids, but it's so nice to drop them off at school in the morning.
So I went to the lake,
right?
And I got to spend time with Miss Birdie. So she's a friend of ours, and she makes the most incredible creams. They are... Anyway, she is going to go live with us at some point on Facebook, and they're all natural, and they're just amazing. See, I'm really 95.
Talabird, hey Birdie.
Hi, Birdie.
So if you are joining us here on Facebook Live, please drop us a little note to say hello. And if you are joining us later on YouTube, hello to you. And be sure to hit like and subscribe and share the show with people who are on this spiritual journey with you, so that we can build our community of like-minded metaphysical mamas and daddies, and just grow our tribe. So,
that's right.
Yeah. Okay, great show today. As always, show number 89.
Yes. Well, do you want to talk real quick about my grandmother?
Sure.
So my grandmother passed away last week on the way to
Mama
New
Joe.
Braunfels, Mama Joe. And it was really cool. I got to go in and see her, and she's fine and having a big old party on the other side. And it's really one of, I haven't lost very many people in my life, and so I was sort of weighing in on what I know versus being human, and it's really interesting. I'm finding that, and she was 91, and she's a ball buster. I mean, she's just an awesome West Texas grandmother, and she's just super, super strong, and she is so happy, and so she lived this long, incredible life, and anyway, so shout outs to Mama Joe and the rest of my family. You guys are awesome.
And so it does. Grief feels different when you know that life continues after life. It's not that we don't miss the physical and love them and wish that they were still here having the physical experience, but it feels so different when you know that you pop in and say hi, and she's telling you about her welcoming home party. And
and I was sitting in the doctor's office. I'm wearing a hat, by the way, because I have a...
Why are you wearing a hat?
Well, I don't know. I think I was bit by a spider, because I had... And then the doctor said shingles. Gross. And so I think it was actually a spider bite, and it's this big thing on my head, and so I didn't want you guys to have to look at it.
It's not uncommon.
Spider bites, yeah.
Or shingles.
So, but while I was talking to my grandmother, she said, the doctor's about to walk in, and he walked in right at that moment.
Gotta go.
Gotta go. You need to go. Anyway, okay, so let's get to today's show, because it is a really good one, guys. I feel like we have, we're talking about the shift, and that everybody is, I don't know, I think you feel it, it's coming, we've heard about it, all these different people are talking about it, and we had a great show last week, or week before last, show number 88, talking about the shift with Allison Coe. And so I met Mitch, our buddy Mitch, through Allison, and then through Mitch also, a longtime friend of his. We met our guest today, and she can actually help us learn how to live from this 3D world start to move into the 5D and to prepare our bodies and to prepare our minds and our thought processes. And I mean, this woman is phenomenal. And I think we may have to do several shows because there's so much here, from her journey to where we're going. Thank you. And it is incredible. And to know her and be around her, my gifts are opening up even more, and my awareness of the other side is really starting to come through. And I just want to say that she doesn't research. She doesn't really read. And she actually went online because of the words that we use, like tall whites or who else?
Arcturians or indigo child we were talking about.
Right. So everything she gets comes from her, and it comes from her guides and her team. So without further ado,
please welcome our new sister from another mister, our spiritual mama friend. This is Kim Ganassin. Hi, Kim.
Hi, Tiff. How are you?
Wonderful. Now we can see Kim, and when you watch later on YouTube, you'll be able to see Kim, beautiful, and you're out. Tell us where you are. You're on the West Coast.
I'm in San Leandro.
Yeah.
I'm in San Leandro, California. It's a suburb of San Francisco, right next to Oakland.
That's right. I was just there last weekend, and as I was going over the Golden Gate Bridge, I was doing a wave to Kim. Hello. I didn't get to meet you personally there, but okay. I'm going to read your little bio just as an introduction to our Lord Joy tribe. And Mitch just popped on. He's saying hi, ladies, and hi to my longtime friend Kim. So thank you, Mitch, for making our introduction here. We have really enjoyed getting to know Kim. Kim is a channel, a vlogger, and a speaker with a healing gift. You're a professional clairvoyant channel. You live in the San Francisco Bay Area, and you've been doing this for over 20 years. You specialize in personalized one-on-one readings, vibrational therapy, and education. And your technique is it's a developed blend of your natural ability. Like you said, you don't research. This is like comes through you, your natural gifts, enhanced with theories from quantum theory, world religions, and the nature of consciousness. You're also a professional speaker in the healthcare industry and a patient advocate. And your new YouTube channel, The Table, is an outreach effort. It's a forum for improving interpersonal culture through awareness of your body as a vibrational conduit. You're working on several books. You live in different dimensions simultaneously. You've had near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences. I mean, you name it. You have this is going to be a fast hour.
It is.
Just scratching the surface and getting to know you. So welcome to the Joyride. I'm glad we made it happen.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Where would you like to start? I really do. I'd like to create this kind of why we're here. And again, I'd like to say that you really helped me shift into more of a 5D thought process. And there are some things that you have told me that just resonate, and how to tune in to my body, where I get the information. But before we go there, let's talk a little bit about you and how you came to be, because your story is fascinating.
Many stories.
I know there really are many lifetime stories.
She was born this way.
I was born this way. Somewhere there's an intention that this happened. So, yeah, what the context that I would like to build right now is basically, I like to start off introducing myself as somebody who does have consciousness in multiple dimensions at the same time. I have a little dimmer switch, and I've got filters that I play with throughout the day so that I don't get, overwhelmed. My nervous system is working hard to manage consciousness and communication in multiple dimensions. So I think that I would like to let your viewers know how some of my medical history actually plays into the development of my awareness and my skills.
Yes.
I do a lot of speaking in the medical community because of my medical background, and it's really relevant to what I'm doing now in this phase of my life, getting this information out there about dimensionality and such. So I'm just going to roll with it.
The floor is yours. Please take it away.
Okay. Okay. So I was a child with medical conditions starting at the age of 6, 7. And I was in my first coma when I was 7 years old. And when at that particular time, I had been a child who was not just chronically ill, but also who had a window open all the time. There was always a window open near me, and there were people on the other side.
A spiritual window.
I related to, yes, a spiritual window. Exactly. There was a spiritual window open all the time. And there were people on the other side of the window who just hung out with me a lot. And they were just my friends, and they helped me to stay centered and stay grounded while I moved through medical issues and personal issues as a little kid. So I never really asked. Some people want to know, who were those people? I never even asked, because they were so much like family that it really didn't matter. And, you know, the mind of a child doesn't really care all the time about details, you know? So it's like, hi, you're my friend, just like my dog over here is my friend. It was very, very natural for me. So when I was 7 years old, I went into a coma, and I was diagnosed as a type 1 diabetic, which is an autoimmune form of diabetes. And when I came out of my coma, there was this huge depression that came over me afterwards, because I had what I was told was a major life-threatening, you know, high-maintenance disease as a 7-year-old, and I had to go into managing that. And it was really difficult for me. So I didn't actually hear very much, and I don't remember very much about my childhood except through the window. That was the part of my life that had tremendous emotional impact and gave me a lot of strength. So here we go. That little depression part went on for years and years and years between the age of 7 and 24. And all of a sudden, at the age of 24, I had this crazy medical little mishap where apparently I inhaled an airborne virus. Wow. And the virus went into the left side of my brain and put me in a coma again.
Another
and I
one.
was really tremendously sick at that time. And I wasn't expected to live. The infection was all the way down into my brain stem. You know, my pupils were dilated because there was nothing going on in there. And so I was actually infected down into the brain stem.
Oh, my.
And yes, and I had a tremendous fever, and, you know, the doctors were telling my family, you're never going to talk to Kim again, because if she wakes up, there's not going to be anything left in there to communicate with. But luckily what was happening was my body was laying in the bed, and I popped out of my body, and I was standing next to my ICU bed. And so here's the physical body. Here is my consciousness in another dimension, and it's this part of my consciousness that I will speak from. This is the perspective I'm going to speak from as I tell the story.
Okay.
Right? I'm not Kim in the body. I'm Kim outside of the body.
Right.
Right? So here's Kim in the bed. Here's Kim next to the bed. And then that window opens up next to me. And I haven't really much been in communication with my folks on the other side of the window for a while, because I was so much in this, you know, 3D world trying to deal with growing up and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I'm in one dimension outside of my body that's in another dimension, and my folks on the other side are in another dimension, right? And these are little minor steps, dimensional steps, okay? The dimension that I was in outside of my body was not that much different than the other side, but it was a little bit different. It was an in-between space. And I want to mention right off the bat here that most of us, though we don't know it, have mastery of exiting our bodies, getting into that mid-state, and going to the dimension on the other side. So don't be overly impressed that I'm able to talk about this memory because we all do this all the time. Okay, it's natural. So here I am in the middle zone, and my body's in very, very bad shape, in the bed, burning up with fever, my brain's on fire, and I remember myself with, I suppose, my astral body, or part of my ethereal body, was reaching out and had one fingertip stuck through my skull and in my brain stem. Well, the reason for that was because there was a clump of cells in my brain stem that was not yet infected with the virus. And those clumps of cells were responsible for keeping my heart beating and for keeping me breathing. And so somewhere in me, in this state of consciousness, I knew that if I pulled my finger out of those clumps of cells, that the infection would come in, and that would be the end.
So it was protecting
So
them.
I was literally protecting myself from dying by holding space in those cells so that I could continue to breathe. Everything else
I do it to you too.
Exactly. Exactly.
Stick your finger in your ears on my belly.
So while I'm sitting here going, okay, there I am, and here's my finger in the brain, I'm looking to my right, and here's my people on the other side in another dimension. And the conversation between me and them went on for a couple of days. You know, it's timeless, right? We're only three-dimensional time when we're in the body, but I'm timeless here, and they're timeless over there. So the conversation went on for a few days. And it's basically like they're telling me, yeah, look it, here we are, you're in a coma. And I'm like, yeah. All right, so how's it going? You know, how you doing? I know this is a weird time.
Finger in the
You
head.
know, it's all right, whatever, you know. And it was kind of like, all right, well, you want a cup of coffee? You know, it was like that. It was like, you know, and we know that this is part of the plan, and you're holding yourself alive, which is what you're supposed to do, and yada, yada, yada. We're all hanging out like we do on the other side, and this is the path.
Now, did your spirit, or did that body feel any emotion or fear or choice about whether to stay or go, or?
No, it felt like that part of me was doing what felt natural. There was a natural urge to go, wait a second, I need to come out of there. I can't hang out. I can't be useful to myself unconscious in that body. So let me pop out, let me connect to my people, let me hold on to these cells. I'm getting feedback from my people over there. Yeah, you know, you're holding on to your cells and you're keeping yourself alive. We know. All good.
So,
all good.
Do you think that most people, when they're in a coma, do you think they pop out, or do you think they just sort of sleep?
In all honesty, you know, as someone who, you know, reads people in comas and stuff like that, it really depends. Some people are out of the body, but you can't really leave the body and go to the other side and cut the ties totally. Otherwise, the body is going to die.
Yeah.
You have to remain somewhat connected to it, right? So it's fine for people to be floating in the room. It's fine for people to have part of their consciousness on the other side, part of it in the room, and a little piece of it still in the body. There's an infinite number of ways to balance out your consciousness across a spectrum of several dimensions.
Well, obviously you're here, and
No, I'm just laughing because she's like, yeah, that's it.
that's it. So obviously you healed, and you're totally intelligent and articulate. So there was no severe. I know you said you've had some complications from it, but
no, there was you know, I didn't come out unscathed.
no.
From that. I have some residual issues in my brain stem with breathing normally, and also language center, and I lost the hearing in this ear because of that fever. And it took me a long time to regain motor skills. You know, when I woke up, I couldn't speak, and I was paralyzed on one side. So there really was a process to go through.
Yeah.
Coming out of that, but that's part of the whole story, and that experience allowed me not only to learn something about myself and my capabilities of moving across dimensions, but I also always like to sit back and look at the context. How are things set up here? You know, and I keep as many notes in my head as possible, like how emotional am I? How emotional is that person? What's the communication like? Is it verbal? Is it telepathic? You know, how do I feel about my own body laying there? Everything that you can remember about an experience where you're in a different dimension, even the fourth dimension when you're dreaming, all details are worth having a good look at, because some of them are your doorway to the next level of understanding.
Yes.
So don't throw any of them away.
Yes.
You actually said that to me the first time we spoke. You were saying that, like, go into that and flesh it out. Like, why, where, what are you feeling? Look down, what are you wearing? And then it really does, because it goes from this, oh yeah, I talked to a red bird, to, you know, who that is and why that is, and kind of the whole thing. Okay, I don't want to distract you because we have a long way to
Totally.
go. Okay, so
No,
you
no
popped out.
problem
So
at all.
you're 24 at this point?
I was 24. So I woke up out of this coma, snapped out of my 17-year funk, right? I had been like this and all depressed, and then all of a sudden I woke up out of that coma, not able to speak, but able to think to myself, yeah, I need to get it together.
It's
right?
time.
I just had an experience, and I went home, and I talked to my people, and a shift has occurred for me, and I need to honor that, and I need to commit to being on the planet instead of hovering in some kind of depressed state where I'm neither here nor there and not getting anything done. So that snapped me out of it. And so basically, the type 1 diabetes at that point was starting to show some secondary signs, right? The retinas. You guys, probably a lot of your audience knows, you know, what happens with diabetes. You know, your feet and your eyes and your kidneys and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We started seeing some of that. Yeah. And so when I was about 42, my kidneys were failed because of diabetes. And so I was lucky enough to garner offers from 15 of my friends and neighbors to give me a kidney.
Wow.
Give me one of their kidneys, right? It was best for me not to get on the transplant list and go on dialysis for kidney failure, because type 1 diabetic women with a small body frame, which is exactly what I am, we don't last on dialysis like non-diabetics or like larger sized people or men. We go fast. We don't survive dialysis. And one of the reasons why diabetics don't survive it as well is because there's so much undiagnosed heart disease among diabetics. And it's undiagnosed because the definitive test is very expensive and intrusive. So they don't do that. In any case, I had to do a heart catheterization test before my kidney transplant because it was part of the kidney protocol. In order to get a kidney transplant, even from a living donor, you had to have a heart catheterization test, and they'll let you move forward as long as your heart is at a certain level of health. Okay. I flunked mine. I flunked my heart cath test. I was clogged in two arteries, 90% clogged, and a third artery, 60% clogged, plus a valve issue or something like that. There was another big clog in there. So nobody could believe it because I was like 110 pounds and, I was a dancer and I was in shape and everything like that, although sick as a dog with kidney failure. Long story short, Kim, we need to do emergency surgery. And I looked at the doctor and I said, and this was while I'm on the table getting the heart cath to look at the heart, and they're shooting the dye in. He stops everything and he says, we need to do surgery. And I said, talk to the hand. I'm so stressed out being in kidney failure, the type 1 diabetic, and all the crazy stuff that I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear what you have to do to me in the OR. Give me something to sign, and let's roll. Because if you say one more thing to me, I'm going to be so stressed out, I'm going to throw myself out a window. So let's just roll forward. So I went into heart surgery not knowing what they were going to do because I didn't want to know. And I had been asking my people for months ahead of time, as I'm sick as a dog, waiting for a kidney transplant. I've been asking my people, please tell me it's going to be okay. Please this, please that. And they're like, we can't tell you anything. We can't tell you anything. We can hold you up, but we can't tell you anything. And I was really, really mad. I'm like, this window's been open my whole life. I need you now. Where's my information? Can't tell you. And there was a reason for that. The reason is I go into heart surgery and I popped out of my body, right, during the procedure. And I was scared to death. I remember I popped out of my body because they freeze you down, right? They put you on ice. They freeze your body down so that your heart slows down. And when I got really cold, I hate being cold, and I popped out of my body, and I was underneath the table in the OR. And I could see my surgeon's shoes, and I didn't really know my surgeon at all, hadn't met him before, but I could feel his energy, and he was a good person, and I noted that to myself. This is a sweet soul here with a good heart, and he's going to take care of me, but at the same time, why am I this cold? What are they doing to my body up there? And I'm scared to death. So I sat underneath the table staring at this guy's shoes until I saw the circular saw come down.
Oh,
right? They're going to open you up.
Oh.
They're going to open you up.
Open heart surgery.
And that's correct.
Sign on for this.
I didn't know that was going to occur, and that's why my people wouldn't tell me what was going to occur, because they knew that I was not going to be able to.
You wouldn't want to know that
myself
ahead of time.
And you know what? And I didn't want to know it, and that's why I told them, just give me something to sign and don't tell me anything, because I knew down deep I didn't want to know. And when I was lucid in the OR, I understood why my people wouldn't tell me, because we were all right all along. I didn't want to know. Who wants that? Who can see themselves being sawed open? So when I saw that saw come around, I flew up to the ceiling, and the window was open. And as I get up there and I see my people, the window closes.
They're like, no.
They're like, let me out.
Get me the
Right?
fuck out of here.
Okay, because when I'm out of my body, I'm still Kim. I'm still Kim. I know more than I do. Well, no, not really, because I'm a channel. Right? I know a lot. I get it. I don't freak out when I'm out of my body. I'm not looking around going, oh my gosh, what's happening? You know, it just feels natural. It feels very familiar.
You pop out easily. Can you imagine? Gone.
I do pop out easily. I do pop out. So I popped out and I flew to the ceiling, and the window was there, and they shut the window on me, and I was like, what are you doing? Open the window. I'm coming out.
Traitor.
I'm leaving. I'm done. And they're like, no, you're not. And I'm like, do you know who you're talking to? I said I'm coming out. Right? I have my earthly ego and arrogance aplenty when I'm out of the body, because I'm out of the body all the time, and I know myself in many different dimensions, and I'm always a mix of 3-dimensional kin, 4- or 5-dimensional kin. It's all just kin to me, right? So I'm like, oh, don't tell me you forgot who you're talking to when you shut that window. Open that window. I'm getting out of this.
Oh, no, you didn't.
And they're like, no. Oh, no, you didn't, for sure. And they're like, no, you're not coming in. And I'm like, okay. I threw some expletives out, and I said, that body is dead. I'm not getting in that body. I'm tired of dragging around a dying body. Okay, my kidneys are gone, the heart is gone, and I'm gone. Open that window. And they're like, no. And I was just so upset. And then all of a sudden,
where's a rock? Give me a rock.
Okay, Kim, go back to. Yeah, exactly. Give me a rock. That's what I wanted. But they shut me down, and they put me back to sleep, and they put me back in my body, right? Because I did not have a choice. I did not have a choice whether to leave, right? And I know a lot of people believe that the soul always has choice in what it does, but from what I've seen, it just depends what part of you has the choice what part in the process of you coming into the body and coming into the earth and playing a role that you agreed to play farther up your spectrum of consciousness. You know, a higher aspect of you, which I'm not loving the word higher, I like to see it as the spectrum of broader and narrower. But when you are yourself out of the body, way up the spectrum, that's when you have the choice as to whether you want to play this script that has a lot of freedom of choice written into it, but there are going to be landmarks that you're going to hit. And you made your choice then to come in and play this role. So do you have the choice of doing everything? Not many people do have the choice of everything, right? Not many people do. Mostly you're going to do what you're told so that we can all play together on this planet for so many different reasons that most people wouldn't even fathom. There are that many storylines woven into what we're doing. And it's beautiful for what it is.
Right.
So, yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. Not fun.
I woke up. With the nurse, you know, here I am wagging my finger, being really, really mad, and then all of a sudden, think, you know, Kim, wake up, it's all over. And I had the most gigantic F-bomb just exploding in my head. Like, I woke up, I'm supposed to be someplace else. I'm back in this body.
Somebody didn't get the memo.
It was an extremely claustrophobic experience being back in the body. I think of all the different times I've had to come back into the body, that's the one that I did not appreciate. But, again, let's look at the context. There's the physical body that is being kept alive, but that time I didn't want to be the one keeping it alive, but I was in that middle space in between physical body and the other side communicating.
You okay?
Now, once again, I'm a mix of things in that middle area. Just like, maybe it's fourth dimension. I think it's a little bit beyond fourth dimension. It's more than just lucid dreaming. It's sometimes when you're dreaming and you're having a lucid dream, you don't really have the feeling that you are three-dimensional as well as four-dimensional. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like when I popped out of my body, I felt like I was still a body, but not the same three-dimensional body, but I was another body. So, you know, there are there's a thread, right? There's a spectrum. Five-dimensional. I'm going to bring this in as a little side note. Five-dimensionality is not I jumped from 3 to 5. It's I've mastered all the dimensions up until that point. They are a part of me. The lessons are ingrained within me, and I maintain mastery of them, which is how I got to 5. It's not because somebody came down and said, I'm going to turn the channel here and turn this into a 5, and you all are just going to enjoy being three-dimensional egos in a five-dimensional environment. That's not going to work.
That's what it is. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. And that is what, you just nailed it. I mean, you nailed you. It is, that is why I think it's so important for you to get that out there, is that it's not that one day all of a sudden, guess what, you've gone from 3 to 5. Isn't it wonderful? It's, yes. So that's the teaching.
You've embodied the experiences and the lessons and the of all of that you've gone through. You've learned to embody it and embrace it and be back in your body. There was a reason they didn't want you to leave. There's a reason you didn't want to leave, even though you really want to leave.
Right.
But to be in that space of being 3D human and being aware that you're not a 3D human,
yeah,
and saying, hey, I want out, I want to go play with you again. I mean, that is an interesting thing, because really, what are you? You know, you're not 3D, though you are in the 3D. So that's where my brain goes, because we do think we are so 3D, and we are so our little meat bags. So,
yeah. Well, you know, 5 dimensions, 5th dimension, for me, 5th dimension is not outside of the spectrum of dimensionality, right? You don't let go of being 3. You grow into 4. You grow into 5. But your mastery of 3 and right, and it's like your you stack it up within yourself. You stack up the skills, right? First grade, second grade, third grade, third dimension. Hopefully third dimension, right? We'll get into that maybe another time. My thought about it is that we've regressed down to 2 dimensions right now, and I'd like to maybe go into that at another time. But it's a growth process. It's not skipping steps. And I think that for me, there is the mistake that gets made, one of the mistakes that gets made in saying, gosh, I really want to skip from 3 to 5 and not be 3 anymore. The problem with that is that you are robbing three-dimensionality of its inherent dignity, right?
And its gifts.
We've decided, and the gift that it is, and we haven't even recognized the totality of what the three-dimensional gift is, right? We are so busy avoiding being three-dimensional and trying to be something else, trying to skip to 5, trying to even go back to 2 because, God, it's got to be better than being three-dimensional. I've dissed three-dimensionality in front of my friends, to my friends, as a society. Everything about our three-dimensionality is judged and compared to other things, and we're shamed out of it. And I have a very strong message, again, that I might like to get into in the future as to what is the treasure in three-dimensionality that we are missing at this time, and why is it necessary for us to honor and respect our three-dimensionality as we grow into and develop into the beings that can survive in 5-dimensionality, because you can't just disrespect the 3 and disrespect yourself as a 3 and expect to make it to 5 that is supposed to be all about love and connection. You can't bring your attitudes about yourself and your fellow 3-dimensional human beings as a negative attitude and then go to 5 dimensions and fit into something that says, no, you're all the same souls, but now you're going to love each other. Well, nobody can make you love what you've decided to disrespect. You have to do that for yourself.
Yeah.
Well, that's an excellent point, and you, something you touched on, and I fortunately, I mean, I'm so happy that you've talked to me about this, and I've not heard anyone else discuss this, is that we do want to escape into the 2D. I mean, here we are on Facebook and on YouTube, but it is the 2D, and it's how can I look and how can I present myself and how
Very surfacey.
or if it's television, or that escapism into the 2D, which I think is fascinating, and no one's talking about that, because how do you go from 2D to 5D? That's kind of tough.
2D to 5D, in my opinion, is not really possible. It's just not possible, and one of the reasons is that your receptive mechanism, your mechanism that allows you to receive vibrational reality from outside of the 3D, is right here in your physical body. It's right here in your physical body. So if you are being two-dimensional and saying, oh, the frontal surface of my face is my avatar.
My identity.
Right? Here's my avatar. Right? Somewhere there's a real soul of Joe Blow elsewhere, but he's using his two-dimensional image as an avatar in a two-dimensional medium. And we are doing that crazy on the planet right now. We are deciding we don't want to feel anything. We want to bombard and numb out our brains with stimulus that just keeps coming and coming and coming and coming, so that you can't stop and reflect and feel anything. And that's the intention, is not to feel. So and we need to knock that out.
So if I hear you, what you're saying, it's like we're pulling out of ourselves and we're pulling out of the reality of the 3D, and we're going either to 2D or wanting to go into 4 or 5, and whether we do it through alcohol, television, really addictions, sugar, that's mine, because we don't want to feel the 3D, so we'll do anything to circumvent that. Is that what you think?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Well,
Yeah.
so the very first time I spoke with you, you were talking, and I think this is the bulk of your work. You were talking about how we vibrate and how words vibrate, and you went in to me and you said, okay, and you said I was brushing my teeth and I was talking, and I want to lead into what you do, and you said I was talking to, I think, my guides and how they give me the information, because you were saying you put it in my head, or they put it in my head, and I'm really in my head too much, which I've been told that my whole life. And you said, no, you need to drop into your spine, and right here, like where your neck attaches to your spine. Now, is that everyone? And you even spoke with one of my guides who said why they did it, because there's a block there. And so I would love to touch on that. This is going by way too fast. I would love to touch on, like, start that part of the conversation.
Okay, can you tell me how much time we have? So
We have about 20 minutes.
20
how
minutes.
long to run it here, because I can run it. So, 20
So can I.
minutes. Yeah. Okay, so let me think back to when we had that conversation. I think that it is very, very common that a lot of people have their blockage where the neck basically meets the shoulders and goes down to become the rest of your back, right? I think that is the common place for a lot of people to have their electricity and their the flow of their consciousness stop at that point. Why? Because we want to live from here up, right? Let me just give you a little map of what I'm referring to specifically there. This is the part of your nervous system that does a lot of analyzing and archiving and categorizing and interpreting, and it also takes information that you've brought in or emotions that you are having, and it packages them up in such a way that you could say what that package is in front of anybody on the street, and they would accept you. They wouldn't hit you. They wouldn't shun you from the group. They wouldn't throw you out of the herd. They wouldn't want to, do something bad to you, right? Part of our brain is the reptilian brain. Part of our heritage as conscious beings is that we've lived in bodies that have survival instinct that is part of the hardware, right? The reptilian brain is a real thing, and it's part of the hardware, and it informs our behavior a lot more than we like to think it does. There are a lot of reflections of animalistic nature in our society. And so we like to stay up here and put a lot of our energy here, right, because it allows our brains to help us survive in a social environment, right?
Neck up.
There's not, we're moving beyond just needing to survive as a herd, right? We're moving beyond that. We need a lot more than that. We're much more than that. So what needs to happen is, for me, the entire nervous system is a unified thing, and that includes the brain and the spinal cord and all the little nerves that are all over your body feeling things. Now, on the big picture, you have vibrations moving through space from everywhere. Everything moves through space. And the truth is, there's really nothing except perhaps your own internal filter that you set before you were born, stopping you from feeling everything moving through space at the same time. We don't have a use for that information anyway, so we don't need to interpret it. But there's a lot of information out there that people want to know, and they talk about it with me. I want to know this. I want to know what it's like to feel 5D. Well, 5D is floating out there already. So if you want to reset your filter and feel what 5D feels like, you have to open up your body, because you cannot conceptualize it.
It's not a thinking thing. It's got to be in. It's got to be in your physical, emotional makeup almost.
It does. It does. It has to hit your nervous system from the neck down, because if it hits you in your head, if information hits you in your head, and the only way that it hits you in your head for most of us is verbally, or reading it off a page, or watching a video, or something like that.
Our five senses.
5 senses. It tends to be processed by the brain augmented, wrapped up into something that doesn't drive us crazy, because we're really regimented as well. It's not just society, it's us too. So we're not going to tolerate certain things from our own spirit, our own being. We need it to be humanized, and we need it to be 2 or 3 dimensions. We need it to be minimally emotional. We need it to be safe. We need it to be all kinds of things. So we like to stay up here, because what the rest of the nervous system feels is raw, right? Does anybody really want to feel that vibration coming from, you know, Saturn's third moon, where there's little spider-like, you know, creatures, and there's a vibration moving through space that would tell your nervous system that? Most people don't want to know. And the big problem is they don't want to know their own emotions that they have stored from the neck down, right? This is the garbage can, the emotional garbage can, the place where, you know, we refer to cell memory. We're holding all our stuff in the body, and we don't want to deal with it, and that's why our stomach hurts, and that's why this hip joint hurts, and that's why everything hurts, and that's where the cancer comes up, and that's where the ulcer comes from, right? All those cell memories, they're down here, and those are the emotions that we don't want to process. So,
but you know,
yeah.
So basically, I think you nail it in that. That thought is just gone, just right out of my head. Anyway, the feeling, people don't want to feel, and people, I think this is it. People don't want to not be able to put something in a box. I know if I have a new idea, a new concept I'm working with, that before I can put it into a context, and usually the context, or it used to be, it had to fit something I already had, a box that was already in there. And so if something comes in and it's like, well, that doesn't really make sense, and I don't know where to, it's like, you know, the ball just rolls around looking for a place to land. It's like, I have nothing. And people don't like that. So if you're saying there's a spider from this moon and the energy coming from him, it's just like, oh, what do I do with that? Oh, we're going to put that in the trash file, because we can't make sense of that. And no one's going to believe me. And so let's go back to Star Wars, or let's go back to something that's accepted by mainstream, you know, a story.
Right, because once you start feeling things, once you start feeling again, instead of just rerunning old tapes in your head, right, stuff that's been archived already, stuff you decided not to feel anymore, and you turned it into a little tape that runs in your head. Okay, once you've decided that that's not satisfying enough for you as a soul with dignity, you go back into your heart, you go back into your body, and the first thing you feel is yourself. That's the first thing you feel. And that's the last thing most people want to feel. Because
sad.
There's pain down there. Right? There's pain down there.
It is, until you realize that moving through the pain, moving through it and getting the lesson out of it, or the experience and learning to live with it and have a different relationship with the pain, is much easier than living with the pain and numbing it and avoiding it. It's so much more energy to do that. So once you learn that you can move through this and do the work and the gifts that come out of it. I mean, you've had a brain-eating virus and a heart surgery. Oh, talk about, you know, not something somebody would choose on a 3D level and wanting to avoid pain. You've gone through them and have on the other side of it, you've had these beautiful gifts that have come out of it, this awareness that you would never have had before, that you're now teaching us. You can entrain to this vibration. Maybe you don't have to go through open heart surgery because you're teaching people how to entrain to it. Go and do your work, whatever your open heart surgery is, and clean that stuff out. And you're teaching people, and you were talking about, I love what you were talking about with when you hear the words, you can feel when they're out of integrity with who you truly are. And so as people are talking and sharing on your one-on-one sessions, you can hear where you're getting tripped up, and you're like, stay right there and go in, and that's where your work is today.
When she goes in and clicks on it.
Right. So basically in the work that I do, I have several videos that touch on this on my YouTube channel. What I see in most people is they're sitting in front of me, or we're over the phone, and I can feel all their levels, and I can see their total spectrum of consciousness from the body all the way back. And sometimes people will say something like, for instance, I used this before with you. Someone once told me, you know, I'm bored at work. My problem is that I'm bored at work. And the minute she said, "Buh," for the word bored, right, instantaneously she starts to say bored. I can slow down the tape and I can see it. A vibration came out of her that said wrong, right? So that when she said, "I'm bored at work," instantaneously with bored, there came out another word. So something deep inside her was speaking the truth, and a vibration came out that said intimidated, afraid, stressed out. But she came up with the word bored, and that was not accurate. And so I said, okay, you're imagining yourself as bored. What's coming out of your body when you say the word bored is the word intimidated. Can we step back and can we take a look at, you know, intimidated rather than bored? Because bored is not working. And I can tell you right now that the word intimidated is the correct word, and it's coming from the survival part of your brain, and it's always also coming farther up your spectrum from before you were born.
Came in with
So past life.
It's a human, right? So I can tell you where you're tripping up on your spectrum of consciousness, and help bring truth out of your cells, help bring truth out of your nervous system, retrieve information from up your spectrum, and then also if there happen to be any other beings sitting around while we're talking, they might just chime in and say, "Hey, tell her this," you know, because we basically open up to five-dimension consciousness when I'm working with my clients. And my goals when I'm working with them is not just to give information, but to vibrationally entrain with them. So if I'm on the fifth dimension while I'm reading you, which is what I have to do, I call it dropping onto the fabric in my videos. It's the same thing. The fabric is fifth dimension and beyond. But I vibrationally entrain with my clients so that while I'm talking to them, they can follow me to some extent into that fifth dimension, start to feel it in their nervous system, and then hopefully the long-term goal is they'll be able to retrieve that feeling and have that feeling echo of what the fifth dimension is, so that when they see it again, they'll recognize it, and the nervous system will help them connect with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And in this particular, and we don't have to go into the story, but in this particular example, you said that you found the spot somewhere on the body and you went in and you clicked. It's like mentally you saw something and that told you and then you saw the scene where it came from. And I think that is so fascinating. Yeah. And like you say, she said, you know, I don't do, I mean, you are very psychic. I mean, you're completely open, but that's not your work. I mean, your work is helping people drop their stuff and entrain up here so that the shift can happen, so that they're high enough that it's an easy experience.
I wonder if that's what the shift is. And you know, we think about the Dolores Cannon, the convoluted universe, where there's two Earths. I wonder if one is regressing back to 2D and one is expanding into 5D. You know, if they're simultaneously happening, and you get to choose. Are you going to regress and slump back and, I don't want to say be lazy, but not do the work and stay in 2D? Or do this work and train yourself and evolve? That's what we're being called to evolve ourselves.
Right.
See patterns.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. You know, sometimes you hear people say, "Oh, we're going to evolve into 5D," and some people say the 5D mothership is going to land on us, and it's got nothing to do with my evolution. So there's a broad disparity in ideas of what 5D means, and I think you make an excellent point that, as we've heard, some people are going to be left behind in the 5D shift. Well, what's going to happen to them? Maybe they will regress to 2D, because 2D is dominating this planet right now. And those of us who want to get out of the 2D absolute chaos, you're going to have to find your 3D, find the mechanism within yourself that connects you to everything. And the 5D dimension is going to be very, very different from 3D, but that doesn't mean that you won't necessarily have the same body with the same mechanism that connects you to everything. this could go a lot of different ways, but I do feel very strongly that if we are going to evolve to 5D, we have to evolve, right?
Yeah.
We have to evolve. You can't just jump there.
So give me an example. So if I am trying to, if I want to feel more from my guides, open up more, how do you do that? Like, how do you drop in? How would one figure out how they receive information? Can they do that on their own? Do they need to call you? Do they need to? I mean, how? I'm not sure if I'm clear in my question.
No, you're totally clear. You're totally clear. Okay, so you cannot conceptualize an authentic message or an authentic vibration that you've never heard before, right? You cannot conceptualize something that you've never experienced and then turn around and say that you experienced it. You didn't experience it. You conceptualized it and it came from you. But a vibration, an authentic vibration from another being coming across space, is something that you cannot conceptualize. You can only experience it, and it will change you. It will interact with you, and you will have feelings not only about that message and the author of that message, but you will have feelings about yourself as you change in response to the message. So if you want to go into 5D, start being okay with feeling yourself change. Feel yourself emotionally get stretched to a point where you decide to let go of something, right? Feel yourself say, you know what, my entire family is really stuck on this one thing about marriage, and you can only achieve the next step of spirituality by going through the sacrament of marriage, or, whatever it is. I'm not putting any religion down. I'm just saying, if there is something holding you back from feeling your authentic emotions, your authentic ideas, your authentic vibration, because your herd is doing something else and saying something else, you got to fight that out within yourself as to how important is it for you to hold on to, the song that your path is singing.
Yeah.
And how important is it? We all have to decide for ourselves. It's a very personal choice. I want to change. The gift in 5D is not that it comes to you on a silver platter. The gift in 5D is that you get to change.
You get to rise.
Well, and I think that's what the shift is. It's this energy in here to encourage and help and uplift it. So it's right there if you want to step into it.
Oh, I love that.
This energy is here for the opportunity now. And someone like you, I feel like, as soon as somebody broke the 4-minute mile record, it kind of gave permission for everybody to go, oh, that's possible? We can do that now? So for somebody to be able to live in a higher dimension, process these energies, these works, go through these experiences, put your finger in your brain and you heal yourself, you've almost given, it's like a living testament to, you can do this.
Yeah, it's possible.
You can do this.
Yeah.
And be and thrive and be beautiful and articulate and help other people and kind of be a shower of a way to do this. And it doesn't have to fit everybody, but it's beautiful. And there's so much more to your story, because then you went on to have a kidney transplant, and then you went on to do this, and then you've gone on to do this. So we've just touched the surface of Miss Kim here.
And I would love, and we're almost out of time, but I would also love to, I'm going to write down some of the shows that you're going to, your stuff is fascinating.
Okay, so the best way to connect with Kim, KimGanassin.com, KimGanassin.com, or on Facebook, it's Kim Ganassin Consulting. And we'll put links on our website and the YouTube and the Facebook and all that, so you guys can connect with Kim and watch her new YouTube channel, The Table, where you were telling us some of the episodes that are coming up, and they're fascinating.
They are amazing.
So thank you to everybody who's joined us on Facebook Live. We didn't even get a chance to say hi, but I know Bertie and Mitch and Tova and Sue, Jan, everybody who's popping in to say hi. We love you.
Hi, Karen.
And thank you, everybody, for joining us. And thank you, Kim. Okay, this was part one.
Part one
we'll
of
see
many.
you again soon for part two.
You got it. Call me up.
We'll call
Absolutely.
you. Bye, guys.
Everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Guys.
Have a wonderful
We'll see you next
week.
week.